Okay. I missed this game live, so we'll just talk about it. I'm gonna try to imagine how the pick bans went, because I did not get to see this, and just seeing the post swap things, I'm gonna try to guess. So the only thing that would make sense is for B1 to be Kate or Set, but I think that there's pretty much no discernment, I think, between the two. But Volibear and Set are both open, with Olaf being banned, so I imagine that they would just take the other one. So I'm going to go with Kate being first. And then I'm going to imagine that Volibear comes in here with probably Ash as a response in a vacuum to Kate. Or Set, I guess. Yeah, Kate or Set. So probably, if they're willing to pick Ash, they would probably just blind it anyway, as a way to, like, dissuade. But also we've just been seeing teams like blind Ash as their, like, preferred choice. So I'm going to say that this is probably Volibear or Ash, and this is Volibear or Ash. And so we're going to have a setup here, because both are open. And so I think that's probably fine. So they're choosing Set, and then this is probably, like, Kate Morg, right? I would imagine this to be the case, because picking Twisted Fate here doesn't make any sense. And then I would imagine that Karma comes in on R3, and then I would imagine bans go out here, and with bans going out here, I would imagine that Cannon would be picked. And the reason that I say Cannon must be picked is because I don't know why Licorice would want Cannon into Aurelia. So now I imagine that Aurelia and Twisted Fate come out here. And then I imagine that Azir comes in as a vacuum answer to the Twisted Fate. But I think Azir is really bad against this team comp, because Twisted Fate, Morgana, and Caitlyn are having a really good time. Aurelia Cannon is really good. It's very, very favored for TSM. So it's Aurelia should be feeling pretty good. Nizki is looking like he's gonna shove. Okay, so he's actually going for poke. That's good. Yeah. He should have pulled right. He took a lot of... It doesn't matter. I'm not gonna pause. Gets level 2. Third wave's not here yet, so this isn't super ideal. We see a lot of Azirs do this. They crash 2 and then they go and get a ward. This is very common, but it's not super ideal. Like, Twisted Fate's very happy. If you ask Bjergsen how he's feeling, he's saying, like, I'm feeling fantastic. I don't know why Azirs do this. When they have so much control of the lane, they can, like, look for cheaters very well. Sven and Vulcan did the same thing. They're just sort of, like, pushing down in bot lane, and there's not a whole lot going on. And you can see, I mean, Volibear, he's clearing out too. Aurelia should get the cheater here against Kennen, who opened Doran's, and then she should get a Cull or a Doran's Blade. Doran's Blade for more, like, skirmishy potency and more, like, self-sufficiency. Cull is a little bit greedier, so I think that that's fine. And now what ends up happening is wave 4, 5, I don't know why this hue comes up. Wave 4, 5, and 6 comes back in, and then Aurelia can permafreeze here. This is a very recreatable situation in the lane. And when this is happening, Volibear can't go down like this. This is very donkey. He should recall path here, and then he has to escort Kennen to get the crash, because otherwise Aurelia just wins the lane on her own. Just take a look at the freeze, and this is where Volibear needs to be here in order to guarantee the safety of Kennen, and Volibear's still not really here. And even if he did go to the golems, he would have to circumvent going to them right away, and he'd have to run into the lane, because Kennen is just in a nightmare spot right now. Why is he in a nightmare spot? Because he's under pressure. Why is he under pressure? Because the lane is threatening to be frozen. What does a frozen lane do? Well, it is a ticking time bomb that demands an answer, and if it's not answered, it's going to blow up in his face, and he's going to lose the game. But LCS players would have you believe that pressure is only able to be defined as an exertion of force over the opponent that, you know, results in you hitting them and, you know, pushing lanes and looking for plays, you know, the great stuff. I can't tell if Aurelia still has a freeze. I don't know what Blabber's doing. He's sort of running around right now looking for Set, but this obviously isn't super ideal. And then Ash and Karma still in bot lane. I think it's looking like a very ugly situation. Licorice can't actually stay in top lane, and that's why he's going with Volibear, because if he just gets clipped by Aurelia, the lane would just end. He's also down the teleport right now. Doublelift ends up getting pushed on, but Sven and Vulcan are mismanaging their wave. They should have ideally, like, They should have looked for a very hard crash tiling by piling up one of the waves. Unfortunately, the camera's not panning down to bot lane enough, so I can't tell when an incoming minion wave and the current state of the lane would have been ideal for them to pile up 2 waves and then hard shove with like Karma RQ, and then Ash Volley at an angle, and then just hard shove in, get a reset off, and then ultimately cheat out Doublelift's teleport. Now, Treats is actually kind of trolling here. He should have easily stopped the recall. I'm going to go back here because this is actually really pathetic that this doesn't happen. So you know on this reset that they are completely monoliths and they have no teleport. You also know where Volibear is because you just saw him on your map not too long ago. So you know that Volibear can't be bottom. Why on earth Treats is not just running forward and denying their recall and forcing them to recall further back with the incoming minion wave literally being at the turret, and then you can cause that wave to actually pile up and slow push back into you after Doublelift just came off of a teleport? It's beyond me. So I'm not totally sure. But now I think the immediate response is that they're going to feel compelled by an act of God to shove this wave into the turret and thus get the next wave to bounce back into them. And then maybe they think they convert into Infernal that way. But you don't have to go for this type of a thing because Twisted Fate is 6, so if you're ever threatening a freeze or something, you get a lot more value because this could have been an indefinite freeze or it could have been a multi-wave pull back in. You don't have to get the Infernal Dragon right away, and then with Twisted Fate, Destiny Gate, Ash and Karma can't really walk up, and you know that Volibear's left side camps are going to be respawning. So I think a lot of lane manipulations being missed out on. It's not imperative that you get the Infernal Dragon, but obviously that's what they're thinking about right now. I don't think that it's important to their overall plan. They can obviously get it later on in the game. I think, like, as played, they would probably say that this is, like, fine because, you know, the wave would be coming back in and then Twisted Fate can still do the same thing. But the only thing now is that Sven and Vulcan, they have more upside because they have control of the lane state in a better way than they would have otherwise had. So we just take a look at how this transpires. He just goes in, Vanguard's Edge. I like how he gets up the stacks. Blabber just not able to be there. And this is sort of like what can end up happening in the Aurelia Kennen lane if Aurelia just clips you once. So I imagine that this is pretty doomsday. The Rift Herald's really weird because all the camps are up. That was a really good face breaker by Spica. Niski barely manages to get out, but still, like, the Rift Herald doesn't need to be taken because you can see that Set has all of his camps up, and, you know, you don't really need to get the Rift Herald because it doesn't make a lot of sense. I complain about this a lot in LCS games. Very often. You take a look at this, Rift Herald is not of the utmost importance. All of the jungle camps are up for basically both sides, barring the Gromp, and it's just not something that you need to do. Especially, like, bot lane's getting shoved in, Aurelia's in a really fine spot in top lane, wave is coming into her. It's not super important. I don't know why people obsess and basically take Viagra over Rift Herald. As played, everything is going okay. Bjergsen has a bit of a late Rod of Ages, but it's because he went for the Merc Treads tier 2, which is fine. Freeze by Broken Blade, this is ideally what Aurelia wants to be doing because she can reach opponents throughout the lane so far. She can just jump throughout the lane, and it's really, really, really good. And now what's going to end up happening is Broken Blade should just maintain the freeze. Killing the cannon's really bad. The cannon's very important. I don't know why he would kill the cannon. He could soften up the cannon, but outright killing it I think is not super good. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it's still a good freeze that is being able to be held by him. Licorice is having a really hard time walking up. That was a really nice zigzag by Broken Blade. He's going to pull the wave back up and continue to freeze. It's really amazing how stuff like this is understood in laning phase, but apparently the game moves to 15 minutes and the clock, you know, it dings 15 and tier 1 turrets are down and people's brains just stop working and you don't understand what is actually happening. So, I mean, that's a really cool thing. Destiny Gate's up again, so anytime Aurelia has her freeze, Cannon's in danger. She ends up unlocking the wave. I think that there has to be a reason for this. I think one of the reasons could have been the proximity to the turret and the fact that the cannon wasn't still there. And this is like one of the differences that can exist. She unlocks it, but I'm not totally sure as to why. Bjergsen should go down here in mid lane. He ends up red carding. Volibear is running around trying to do stuff. Cloud Dragon coming up next is pretty good for TSM because you can just actually let Cloud9 take it. It's not the end of the world. Nashor's Tooth is completed now by Niski. Double Doran's Ring also for him. Aurelia is going to run back up into top lane. She has a really good CS advantage right now. It doesn't matter that Cloud9 gets this because it's a pretty bad dragon. Ocean is a very spicy Drake for both of these parties. Meanwhile, down in bot lane, stuff is just still going ping-pong. Sven and Vulcan almost at their first core item. Caitlyn as well. Broken Blade is going to Vanguard's Edge. Teleport now coming in. And, okay, well, gold card. Oh, gold card onto Blabber. If that was onto Licorice, she was dead. And so Niski also roaming up into top lane to try to make stuff happen. He could have, so what could have happened here is Broken Blade could have moved up into the wave, stood still, and then moved into the brush, and it causes a slow push back into him. And then now, because turret plates have fallen, this would make it very good, because Dragon is up in 2 minutes 45 seconds, so Kennen can't just go back top lane. If Azir tries to stay in top lane and walk up into the wave, he has to respect the fact that he can still be collapsed on, and he doesn't have his flash available, so Emperor's Divide and his retreat with EQ would be the only, or, yeah, WQE or whatever would be the only thing that he could really rely on to get out. Looks like Dead Man's Plate is going to be purchased by Volibear. I think Set has a little bit more luxury in that he doesn't need to go Dead Man's Plate. A really nice kill onto Kennen down in bot lane, and now they're going to keep on pushing. First turret of the game is still available, so I guess there's a bit of difference on like just not pushing or killing a tier 1 turret or something, but you have to remember that the first team that kills the tier 1 turret gives over the long freeze to the opponent. It's going to be Murktread's second item for the Aurelia, and then she should probably just go into Trinity Force as the next item. Doublelift is going for the BF sword, so not going for the attack speed items. This is really good. I mean, stuff like this is really cool. Freaks talked about this on the broadcast, and it's really important that like casters and other people in the community are very vocal about like better itemization so that players can do that over time, and that it's not super bad. The game is now very stalled out. This is where like you should be waiting for the second wave to come in and then trying to freeze and whatnot, because we're way too early in the game. So like base levels are not high enough to reliably siege. Doesn't matter that there's a Caitlyn and a Twisted Fate and stuff. You can still reliably you can push out. This fight is a lot better right now for TSM than it is for Cloud9. This mostly just has to do with core item completions and like champion base value at this point in time. Kennen is very weak comparatively to Aurelia. Blabber tries to go for the steal. He's going to end up running away. Broken Blade on the right-hand side. Flash out. Treats is able to go back in. This is a very easy fight for TSM. I don't know why Cloud9 handshook it. I mean, they're fighting it somewhat well, but it doesn't matter. We were able to call it as a troll fight before, 20 seconds before it even happened. So I don't really know. Apparently 5 people can't see that, but we can. 2,000 gold lead right now for TSM, but you could definitely say that it's a lot more than that. Remember, they have the Infernal Dragon, which is super valuable. They're going to try to go for a fight. This is actually... Now, I will pause right now. Actually, because this makes me so fucking nauseous. I will pause. Okay. TSM does this all the time. Okay? This turret is 500 fucking gold. What is wrong with all 5 of you? Where you think being here is more important than just making sure camps are up and being in a position where Cloud9 can't fight. Because the longer that this goes, the better it gets. Each minute that passes is better for TSM. So, if you know that they have double teleport, why are you pushing a plateless tier 1 turret for 500 gold? Of which, a percentage of that is going to be dispersed around neighboring teammates. This is like a joke. It's insane. You're waiting for waves to come back in, and then you should be freezing. So let's actually rewind. Let's see how we get into this spot. Let's take a look at how we get into this spot. Did Aurelia have a wave that was coming into her? So I see golems. I see golems are up. We're not getting the golems. Seeing the golems are up. Golems could have been taken. Okay, Set's going down. Set, where are you going? Set, why are you going over there? Set, why are we going over here? Oh, look, a wave was coming in. Okay, Aurelia's going to push it. Kennen should freeze. Okay, we're over here. Okay, nothing, no reason to fight. Our tier 1's dead. Our tier 1's dead. We can let them take this mid wave, and then we can pull it in. We can pull it in and we can freeze. Destiny Gate's almost up. What are they going to do? Walk up to here and then get Destiny Gated on? At least then the fight's on our terms. Licorice should be freezing down in bot lane right now. Why are we pushing mid tier 1? Is it a fucking joke or what? 500 gold. You need 500 gold to win the game? You need the tier 1 or what? You need the tier 1, right? It's imperative that we get this to win, right? This is it. This is do or die. This is life or death. If 500 gold was so fucking important to you, you would take 2 minion waves that they would shove into you, and then you'd freeze them right here. You take 2 cannons, there you go, there's the gold. But no, it's not that important to you, you just feel good. Right, dopamine kick from raising the turret, really cool. Really cool, I'm glad. Nice, dopamine kick, nice. Jeez. The fight ends up going well for them, but that has nothing to do with it. Like, the concept and the points that I'm talking about are devoid of the end result of this fight. So this, again, is another very good fight. I don't like this, by the way. I don't like this with Caitlyn traps, by the way. I think I've talked about this in the past. I like when they're jagged and they're zigzag because they require more precise clicks to respond to them rather than just being in a line. This is a very, very good position. That's a nice steal by Blabber. It's still too hard. You can't run into Twisted Fate, Kate, and Morg. It's just way too hard. Way too hard. Really good position by TSM. I mean, it's just very difficult, and this is like when you hear me mauled on the LCK broadcast, and I talk about spots where Azir doesn't want to go in, he hates going in. This is one of them. Azir likes to sit back, sand soldier, and control the fight. If he can Shurima shuffle against a team that doesn't have a very good response to him, okay, he can do those. Sometimes he can go for those like heroic Shurima shuffles, but realistically here, Ashe and Azir would like to just sit back and terrain control with sand soldiers and Ashe volleys, but Ken and Volibear are not really allowing them to do that, and because of the range on Caitlyn, Twisted Fate, and Morgana, and the pressure by the Ocean Dragon being taken, they feel compelled. Now, they could have just taken the Ocean Drake and disengaged. That is something they could have done. It's what they should have done. This kind of an angled teamfight, if you play this in a sandbox mode 100 times over, you'll realize it's never going to be good. Never. And it's about, like, practicality, right? How practical is it that you can run into these champions that TSM has and then actually come out victorious? And in the majority of cases, it's never going to be that way, you know? So, Elixir purchase by Bjergsen is really good. I actually didn't see when he got it. So this is definitely very good. They do have the Baron buff, so he probably want to min-max his damage to turret, so you get the true damage on the auto attacks. It really helps with opening things up. I think that as played right now inside of this game, Bjergsen's items are all like totally fine. Stopwatch and Elixir are very, very good purchases. Bjergsen's someone that thinks about his item buys a lot. So it's a very, very good. Rapid Fire Cannon on Double Lift, third item for the utility and the range. Very, very good. I like the Redemption on Morgana. Sets would go Locket of the Iron Solari here, third. Locket would be the best item. I've talked about this so many times. You get the Locket active for all the bonus HP you have. You press the active on all of your teammates, especially if you're protecting them and you're acting as a defensive lineman. It gives more HP to the more important champions in the team composition than you could ever get yourself. So I think that as time evolves and as I continue to like mold, maybe, hopefully we start getting Solari Redemption purchases on set. I have no idea. You know, I mean, I've sold Leandries. I'll start selling Solaris and Redemption, you know, making a pretty big inventory. I don't know. Bramble Vest on Volibear I think is actually good. I think it's the correct buy. If he knows that he's under a lot of pressure, he's losing all of his jungle camps, he's not going to be allocated any gold anymore. I think it's probably the best item he can get for 1,000 gold that is going to be meaningful. Cloud9 feeling like they want to go in. Niski did get locked up on the trap, and Volibear just, you know, I mean, they call it a bear trap for a reason. So Volibear ends up dying, and it just looks like they don't know really how to get themselves out of this rut. And like Volibear is dealing hybrid, but Bramble is also magic if you end up autoing him or something. This is a very, very cluster team fight. This is probably the best chance Cloud9 would ever have, but it's still not going to be good enough. Aurelia gets into the backline, and yeah, this game is definitely over. And they have the minion wave in close proximity. Fail flash by Sven. It's not going to be enough. They end up losing the game. So Cloud9 are now 11-5, and TSM are 11-5. They've caught all the way back up, so that is really good. They feel pretty good about this game. I think this is the cleanest game that TSM has actually played. Like, there's still refinements and stuff that could have been done for sure. But I think it's definitely the cleanest game that they've had. So I think in that regard, it's really good. Cloud9 blundered a lot of team fights. You have to wonder how often they're used to fighting from behind. That can definitely be a problem. They were clearly overestimating their champions' values at certain points inside of the game. TSM did still make side lane and mid lane blunders in the game, and they didn't really play to the Twisted Fate strength as much as they could have. I think the itemization was really good out of Spica. I think that was very nice. I think that Double Lift and Treats mismanaged their wave at some points, but Sven and Vulcan are the real criminals with some of the stuff that they were doing. Bjergsen blundered his lane 2 times off memory, right? And then Niski blundered also wave 2. I don't know why Azirs all tend to do this. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm sure that you know, a conversation would be like, it's fine, but it's really not fine. Just go and play out 100 times, and you can easily find spots that are superior to the level 2 ward push. It's fine. It's such a cop-out. In a lot of situations, not all. Sun's finally coming out. Cool. I'm going to turn back on chat.